Hey Double O's, it's Blake over at Bond Life Chicago with another Double O fight breakdown. Today, Goldfinger. Bond versus Goldfinger in the plane at the end of the movie. This one's a pretty quick fight scene in general. Not a whole lot of technicality. There is some gun defense, some weapon retention type stuff, and then there is some realistic striking. Of course, there is always the argument, the myth of the depressurization of the plane, if that would truly suck somebody out of a plane or not. I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist. Sorry there, guys. But it makes for a good ending to the movie. So obviously, Bond is being flown to see the President of the United States for saving the day, saving Fort Knox. And he gets surprised. Goldfinger walks out with a golden gun, the revolver golden gun, which is similar, of course, to the actual Man with a Golden Gun novel from Ian Fleming. But that's another story. He's got Bond at gunpoint with that revolver. He's pretty far away. Bond's sitting down. That's pretty disadvantage, or a pretty big disadvantage for Bond at that point. If Goldfinger were to stay there or decide to shoot him, he's a lot more safe from that distance versus being up close to Bond. Of course, he's got a monologue a little bit because he is an evil villain. So he walks up to Bond and he's pretty much standing right over Bond where Bond's sitting, and he's got that gun drawn on him, and he eventually cocks it as they're talking. Bond is able to, whether he thought he would do this when he asked where Pussy Galore was or not, he's able to while talking to Goldfinger, get Goldfinger to reference and point to Pussy Galore this way with the gun. Now the gun's not pointed at Bond. So Goldfinger's already made two errors. He's gotten closer, closing the distance so that Bond could potentially get that gun away. And two, he's taken it from pointing at Bond to over here. Now's the time to move if you're going to try to get a gun not pointed at you. Bond does a good job. He lunges to action. He lunges up and he clinches with Goldfinger as he's keeping that gun isolated out here away from him. Goldfinger is a little bit of a larger man, and eventually he's able to overpower Bond's arm, and he strikes Bond in like the upper area with the hand that actually has the gun in it. But when he does that, he doesn't really recoil his arm, and Bond's able to latch onto that arm, and now he's got him in like a straight arm lock type situation, but not one where he can actually do any type of arm lock to him, but he's got that arm pinned up against him, which again, he's got it pinned close to his body. You have a lot more core strength here versus if you're wrestling with that arm out this way, but he's got it pinned close to him. It looks like he tries to do like similar to like a hip toss because he turns this way, but he doesn't necessarily toss Goldfinger, and they ultimately just end up doing a 360. But as he turns the first time, he spins, and then Goldfinger, as he comes around again, is almost just, again, being a larger man, able to slam Bond into one of the other seats in the private plane. And as he slams him down, Bond's still kind of holding on to him, throws one right punch to Goldfinger's face to get him off of him. Bond then gets up, and he throws two more right punches, this time to the abdomen area, torso area of Goldfinger, and then he does a really good job. Again, he isolates that wrist that has the gun, and he's turned this way. So now the gun is pointing here, Goldfinger's behind him, and he's got that arm even isolated and pinned but underneath his arm here. Really good strong point there, and you're able to really control where that gun barrel is, because of course if you're wrestling over a gun, the one thing you don't want is that gun barrel to be pointed at you. So he's got it pointed this way, and he's really doing a good job controlling that. He's trying to wrestle it away, and I really like this. I don't know if the director, the choreographer of the fight, or whoever thought of this, or maybe they just did it because they need to fire the gun, but a revolver versus a semi-automatic weapon. Obviously, a semi-automatic weapon, you pull the trigger, you fire, another round, another bullet is going to be loaded up into that chamber, and it's going to be able to continue to fire until that gun is out of ammo. A revolver, you have to cock it a second time in order for it to fire a second time. And so ultimately, this is one shot at a time. The gun is already cocked as they're fighting for it. Bond, you can see in the film, Bond is actually the one that has his finger on the trigger, and he fires that gun, which would now basically make it a blunt instrument, just a hard object, unless it gets recocked again, which if you're going to continue to be in a knockout, drag-out fight, means that you don't have to worry as much where the barrel's pointing for a little bit, but you do have to be cognizant of if that gun gets cocked again, because it's no longer a well, it is still a firearm, but it is no longer that deadly threat until it gets recocked again for a second time. So they fire that gun. Of course, we don't need to find out if they're going to continue to fire over it or if Bond did that on purpose, because Goldfinger, the plane gets depressurized because the gun goes off and it shoots out one of the windows, and Goldfinger starts flying towards the window. Ultimately, he gets sucked out of the window. Bond's able to kind of grab hold and help Pussy Galore save the plane from crashing. And of course, we get another good one-liner. Where's Goldfinger? He's playing his golden harp. Again, as always, guys, if you're serious about self-defense and martial arts, please find a gym in your area. Find a martial arts that works for you. It's a great way to stay safe. It's a great way to stay fit. And it's a great way to bring a little bit of Bond in your everyday life. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you next time.